Okay, for today what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you guys through Autodesk Inventor, which is a 3D rendering software. And we will first off work with a 2D plane, then we get into a 3D plane. You're going to see that. But basically, to open the software, it's going to be known, it's on your desktop, should say Autodesk Inventor Professional. Depends on what version. Right now we're working with 2012. Could be a different version later on. Make sure not to confuse that with Inventor Fusion. Alright, you want to make sure you open up Professional. So we're going to go ahead and double click on that software. I already opened it up just to save some time with loading. And basically this is your home screen when you get in to open that software. A couple items with this particular software, and just to show you the basic layout of the software, we have what's known as a ribbon, which gives us some different items through here. The tabs that open those different parts within that ribbon are located up here. We have a quick access toolbar, which you can see you can open up files, new files, or open up existing files, or save. There is an undo, okay, and a redo. If you continue working on with a sketch and you draw something, you can undo certain things. Some other items is the browser. You can see that there is a browser on the left hand. That's going to come into play a lot when we start working with creating some sketches and things here in a few minutes. Also, on the top left hand is what's known as your application button. Alright, so if you click on that, again, this has creating a new file, and there's a bunch of different file types associated with Inventor. Typically you're going to be working with a part file initially, but then from there you can work with what's known as a drawing file, or an assembly file, or a presentation. Again, if you have older files, or you had something from the past that you drew, you can open that up from here. There's different save and save as commands associated with it as well. So that's where you'd start a new part file. You can also go to new, like I showed earlier, and go into a part file. Now, the file extension, just to show you, with a standard part right here, the IPT stands for Inventor Part File, or Standard Inventor Drawing File, or Presentation, or Assembly. So that's what those stand for. So we're going to go ahead and open up a standard IPT, or Standard Part File. Click on that. And again, make sure you don't confuse that with sheet metal. We want to work with a standard part. Click OK, and it's going to bring us into that 2D drawing window. Those of you who are familiar with CAD, or ever used CAD, this is going to look somewhat similar, have some of the same drawing tools and things that you'd work with in CAD. And you can see this is what we have initially. You can see how that the ribbon opened up with a lot more tools. We have different tabs that we can go through and select. Typically the initial default it's going to go to is sketch, because that's what we're going to draw. We're going to use some of these sketch tools to draw objects down here in our drawing area. But you can see you have that all populated. Again, you have your undo button, your redo, your save, and things like that. Again, I recommend that you save periodically when you're drawing, just to save your work. That helps just in case the battery goes dead on your computer, or the network goes down, wherever the situation is. I recommend that you do save your files periodically when you're drawing. Okay, so what we're going to do is I'm going to show you how to navigate. We're going to draw some simple lines. I'm going to show you how to navigate and use some more of the view, how to view different things within Inventor, and rotate objects that you sketch. Also, some keyboard shortcut items in regards to the mouse that'll help you just work through the software a little quicker. So what we're going to do first is we're going to draw a simple line. And typically what I do is I start my drawings here at the origin, which is that center dot right in the middle of your screen. So I'm going to click on the line tool, and I'm going to go over to that dot. You can see how it gives my X, Y at 0, 0. Again, that's the origin of the actual drawing. So typically, again, that's where I start all my drawings. So I'm going to go ahead and left click, and I'm not going to left click again to end. It created a start point for me at that particular origin, but I'm not going to left click again. And you can see it gives me a preview of what the actual length of that line is going to be. Alright, so I could make this horizontal, I can make it vertical, I could put it at different angles. You can see how it gives me a general guideline on what the angle and degrees it's going to be, and again the length of the line. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to type in a dimension. So before you left click, type in a dimension. So let's go 2.5. The nice thing with Inventor, it'll allow you to put in a decimal or a fraction. I'll show you that in a minute. Right now we're just going to put the decimal in at 2.5. We'll click OK. And we're just going to make a simple rectangle. Once you have that drawn, you can see how that line goes off the page, my viewing area. To fit everything in your viewing area, double click the gray center mouse button on your mouse, that gray button. You can see how it'll fit it inside the window for you. Okay, so what we're going to do, you can see how I get what's known as a dangling line. It just continues from that end point. So I'm going to go and just make a vertical line, and I'm going to basically type in a fraction now, because that's the nice thing with Inventor. You can put in a fraction. So let's type in, let's go with 5/8 of an inch. Again, this works if you're working with some fractions. Let's say you're working with 5/32. You don't know what the decimal conversion of that is, but you can just type that in. Okay, so it's just forward slash then. So we're going to type 5/8 for 5/8 of an inch. All right, it converts that for us. Again, double click that center mouse button. You can see how it will put in the decimal. All right, that all depends on the actual drawing. If you want decimal or fractions, when it brings things up for you, the default right now is at decimal. So again, we'll type in 2.5, and we're going to close that off. Okay, so right now we have a big rectangle here. All right, I can view that rectangle from different angles or different sides of that object. So right now it's showing me this is my view cube. It's giving me the front view, but I could view that from a top view. Okay, again, being that it's just one plane right now, 2D, some of these views are going to be pretty plain, but just to show you, I can view it from the back. Alright, I can go different angles. I can click on the sides. Again, it'll rotate that around so you can see from different views. Again, I just want the front view. It does also have a home view, which is an isometric view of that object, so you can see that, but I just want to go to front. Some things over here in regards to tools that you can use. You have your pan tool, which again, I could pan the object left and right. Keyboard shortcut or mouse shortcut for that tool is, if you were just hold in that center mouse button, you should be able to use the pan tool. There's also an orbit tool. Again, orbit's pretty nice. Okay, I can select that tool and I can orbit this around. Very similar to what we were doing before with clicking the views from the view cube. Alright, but I can orbit that. Okay, I can escape out of that. Again, any tool that you're working with, if you press escape, it'll get out of that particular tool. For example, right now I'm working still with the line tool. I can escape, and now I'm not working. You don't see any tool selected here, which is good. Again, just to show you that again, if I'm working with the line tool, see how it gets selected. I just escape out of that. I'm going to go back to my front view. So that's your orbit tool. You can select that over here, or keyboard shortcut items are, you can hold shift and center mouse button, and that will orbit as well for you. You can see how that orbit comes up as well, so you can orbit that, the drawing around. Alright, so typically there's other items in here that you can play around with, but they're typically the two that I use most, is the pan and the orbit. Okay, the free orbit tool there. Alright, so you can see how we have our lines created. I showed you how to create dimensions. Alright, and constrain these items. Again, if I need to change a dimension, for example, if I didn't want this at 0.625, which was 5/8, I could just double click on that again, and make sure to do that. Again, press escape, make sure you're out of everything, double click on it, and it'll give me the current dimension or constraint of that item, and I could change that if I want to go to a 1/2 inch instead. You can see how it makes the left and right sides a 1/2 inch. It does that so it stays proportional and constrains those to that dimension. So again, you can change these, okay, to the actual size that you'd want. Okay, and there you go. All right. So that's really what I just wanted to show you in this series here, is just again how to navigate through, control some simple navigation tools, rotating, orbiting, draw simple lines and things in this particular tutorial. Alright, thanks for watching.